Hello and welcome to my video. In today's video, we are going to demonstrate how it is possible to get deep inside a GitHub in order to get initial access. And this happens in all service cloud providers. GitHub is a very cheap alternative for different operations within pipeline stacks and development environments. And so in this lab, we're going to demonstrate how that can be abused by things like allowing public GitHubs to have very critical information lying around without deleting it after updating. And let's get into it right now. So this is the lab right here. I'm going to read over it a little bit. It's called Abuse Dynamic Groups in Entra ID for Privilege Escalation. As you can see here, it gives us the GitHub itself. However, I'm going to show you that we didn't really need this. We could have just found it on our own. But let's get into the scenario a little bit before we get into this lab. Just to read about what our role is. Mega Big Tech wants security. We all want security. But will we ever truly achieve full security in our lives? Or are there things beyond our control? So anyways, Mega Big Tech wants security to be their #1 business priority, but acknowledge that they still have a long way to go. So anyways, Mega Big Tech has a really long way to go because we've been hacking them every day for the past like 2 months. I think we reached like 50 different principals getting compromised on Mega Big Tech. So business must really be their priority. Anyways, this is the kind of overview of the lab. So before we get into it, I just want to show you that it's quite a linear attack path. As you can see here, it's just one long little rectangle, and it's straight as can be. So let's go into it. Let's go right on to the start over here. And the start is going to be this. Where is it? This GitHub is found through here. So instead of relying on the lab, you gotta think a little bit for yourself and say, how would I find a public GitHub of a company? How would I find that? Well, you go over to GitHub/search and you say Mega Big Tech. And now all of a sudden you have the same GitHub, Mega Big Tech. And we can go ahead and click on Mega Big Tech over here and see Jeff Armstrong, Mega Big Tech. So right off the bat, we have a profile. And before moving forward, I just wanted to mention that even just with Jeff Armstrong, they're just this guy, knowing that he's a part of the development team, knowing that he is associated with the information that we can extract from here, we can start conducting some social engineering, technical maneuvers around this guy, going around, finding things about him, trying to formulate and trying to engineer the perfect method of using him in order to get the initial access. However, that's not the attack path. There are other phishing labs that you can find in my video where we do that kind of stuff. But for now, since we have this GitHub, it's nice and it's always fun to click around like this and, go into the README, go into this, whatever this is. Doesn't seem to be anything of interest in here. However, the CLI is always gets us nice and deep and dirty into the information, allows us to see the things that aren't displayed to the average user's convenience. And so for that, we're going to need to git clone this entire repository. We press on this green button and we press copy, and then we open up our Kali. So I'm going to open that up. All right, so we're getting Kali launched and up and running over here. As you can see, we got our Kali open. And now before I move forward, I just want to mention that Kali is essential. And I know maybe you're coming from a cloud security engineer sort of standpoint, looking to just kind of glance around at what the red teamers are up to in the cloud cloud domain. But you know, the Kali is going to be essential for you to do that here, and I'll show you why we need a Linux terminal to begin with. Let's go ahead and go into our lab directory real quick, and let's go ahead and git clone this entire repository using git clone. And since we already have that git cloned, let's go ahead and enter it. Let's go ahead and enter it. So cd application management. All right, so as you can see, we got these standard things that we saw. However, if we go the ls with the -lsa, that's how we know that there are some other stuff involved. So let's go ahead and take a look at the other things. Let's go ahead and see the logs of the changes being made over time, possibly revealing previous information that discloses to us some critical key facts that are now gone. So let's go ahead and do git log -p to see all of that. And right off the bat, look at here. We see this string SAS token. SAS token is blank. However, look over here. There's a blob, storage blob, and it's disclosed. Public partial class upload resume. Right away, we already have a public storage account. However, this SAS token, if you're not familiar, can be used to access this storage account, and it's not present. So why don't we go ahead and take a look more at these changes? And if we do so, we'll find that right before this, guess what was removed? What was removed was the SAS token that can be used to access the public storage account. So let's go ahead and get right in there using this found public storage account SAS token. And so I made this command right here prepared for us, and I'll go ahead and explain it for you. But long story short, this is what is going to give us access. And we're going to be able to use this in order to get in and, you know, in a way, authenticate ourselves to the storage account. All right, so let's put our Kali away for a second. And let's get our PowerShell open. Now, if you're running PowerShell, I highly advise you to run PowerShell in this multi-tab terminal station thing, because it is vastly superior. And we have now completely unpacked the storage token, and now we can see that there's candidate resumes as a container in the storage token. So look, I'm not a genius. I'm not like a Elon Musk visionary, but if I had to guess, I could say that this has a bunch of critical information in the form of resumes that we can use to ransom this company. All right. So with this being found, let's go ahead and retrieve whatever is in here. So firstly, let's take a look at what's in here. And by using this get storage blob command, we see that there are two files here. It's a bit truncated, and that's all due to the beauty of PowerShell. It's trying to be effective at me. So let's go ahead and untruncate it. And as you can see, the first file that we find is called Angela Lee resume.pdf. And the second one that we find is called Mega Big Tech New Employee Onboarding.pdf. So this is all juicy stuff. You know, this is one of the critical points of the findings in your lab and in your engagement and in your experience in hacking. When you finally exfiltrate documents like this, I mean, you can feel it in your body, the surge of exfiltration. That's the harnessed energy of retrieving critical information that shouldn't be disclosed. All right, so let's go ahead and download these. Let's go ahead and download these informations, these documents over here. So let's start with the first one, and I made a command just for it right over here. And it's simply a get storage blob content command. But since we already have it, it's telling us you already have it. You know, do you want it again? And I'm going to go ahead and say no. But long story short, this is the command to also get the other document. But since I already have both of them, I'm just going to go over to their directory. And here's my directory. And so firstly, let's go ahead and take a look at Mega Big Tech New Employee Onboarding. So right off the bat, we see a bunch of documentation and stuff just kind of stating what the process is for onboarding new employees. But the main thing that we want to take away from this is that there's this password. And with this password, we're going to want to keep it somewhere. So let's go ahead and copy paste this, put it somewhere. And let's go ahead and go back and get the other file and see what's in that. So like I said, I already have it downloaded. So I'm just going to go ahead and start it. Start Angelina. So hopefully we can just get some creds straight off the bat for Angela. You know, that would be the ideal thing, but this is a resume. And so I don't think there's going to be that much juicy information inside of it. But, you know, information is information. We can always sell that stuff. So let's go ahead and get in this. All right, Angela Lee. Angela Lee has technical skills and education. So, you know, maybe it's for another video, but maybe how about you guys leave in the comments below how much your education assisted you in your hacking career. That's a fun conversation. So here we have Angelina Lee, and we have a password that we don't know which user it's associated to. In this scenario, we're going to want to investigate, especially since both the document that had the password is within the same container of Angela Lee's resume. We need to find out a valid login user for Angela Lee and then use the password with this user, because as I suspect, that is probably the credentials that we're trying to look for. So let's see how we can do that. All right. So here we have Angela Lee. And in order to get some usernames, we're going to use username anarchy. So let's bring over back our Kali. And right here in our Kali. We can then start to get into hacker mode. And that's one of the beauties of Kali, is that you can really just immerse yourself into complete full hacker mode with Kali. And just look at the dragon in the background. You know, I made my terminal transparent for a reason, to see that dragon and just, you know, you want to look at this dragon on Kali. It's supposed to be some kind of Ouroboros symbol, and God knows what even that's supposed to mean. Like, if you eat yourself, like, I guess it is a wake-up call. Please do not eat yourself. But you want to look at this dragon on Kali, and you want to go, like, you just want to take it by the horns, and you want to take it by its little dragon neck and strangle it, and harness your hacker energy. And so that's what we're going to do here. We're going to make a bunch of usernames. So let's see what we made thus far. All right, we got a bunch of Angelinas and Angelina Lee, A. Lee, Langalina, and that's all beautiful, but let's add the domain to these usernames. Now, as you can see, we got the usernames with the emails. Now we got emails, and that's how Azure works. And so now that we have these, let's go ahead and spray with the password that we know and see which is the correct username if our password is correct. All right. All right, here we go. We got it. Whoa. Now this is the type of, you know, red, and then bam, we get a green. And that's the kind of hit that completely obliterates any other hit that you could get in life. And we got this hit, you know, with 0 consequences and 0 sinning. And so that's why I believe that hacking is one of the greatest solutions for problems. So here we have Angelina Lee's username, the one that worked with the password that we found. So now that we have this, it's time to go completely obliterate Angelina's account and get as much as we can out of it. So I placed over here the standard format of authentication. And so if we go ahead and try these forms of authentication, we'll find that this user is a little bit more tricky than the usual. Let's go ahead and do that. So firstly, with AZ login, try to log in to Angela Lee. Boom. No subscriptions found. So AZ does not work. And so does that mean that the management API might be blocked or something? There's no subscription. So let's go ahead and try connect AZ account, specifying the management API, and see what happens. And it is confirmed there's no subscription. Again, we are not able to enumerate without a subscription. And so with that being said, our only option now is to maybe try to find some attack path in the Graph API. And so long story short, when you're getting access, you're going to want to target both the Graph API for the people-oriented attack paths, understanding the users, the groups, the organization involved for this user and how you can abuse that. And then, of course, the management API for the resources and the visibility of the different assets that are involved that the user could be using. However, since that doesn't work, we are just going to go straight to the Graph API. And from here, we're going to check a bunch of stuff. From that bunch of stuff, we are going to check if this user has any involvement with any administrative units. So I'm going to use that script that I just copied, and I'm going to use this script. And as you can see here, I'll read it to you so you can get an idea of what it does. Firstly, we get the user using get mg user. We get Ali mega big tech, and then once we have our user, we are then going to check this user's involvement against every single administrative unit that we have visibility on. And once we do, as you can see, this long script, all it does is simply organize the information. It's going to tell us if it's in any administrative unit, what its role in that unit is, and who else is in that unit. So let's see what it finds. So here it says you belong to onboarding engineer. So our user is involved with this administrative unit called onboarding engineer. You know, from looking at that person's resume, what was the resume? Angelina Lee has skills in multiple different technologies. Was a logistics director, a systems assistant, and overall held different managerial positions. So they could very well be the engineering leader, the engineering team lead of this team's engineering department. So within this administrative unit, so now that we know that Angelina Lee is part of this onboarding engineering administrative unit, we can now get a glimpse of what her permissions are through this administrative unit. And so we know through this output, you can see here, I know it's a little messy, but this red pin flags the other user that is also within this organizational unit, within this administrative unit. And so if this guy is in here and we have any permissions over this administrative unit, that's going to be a complete victory for us, and we're going to be able to move laterally. And as you can see here, it is the case, since the description of this administrative unit is that can manage all aspects of users and groups, including resetting passwords for limited admins. And who is this role assigned to? As you can see in the output of this script, if you want the script, please let me know. It is assigned to our very own Ali Angelina at megabigtech.com. So now that we know that, let's go ahead and reset the password using update mg user. And we just updated Felix's password. Now, Felix might be at home. He might be at work. But the one thing that we know for sure is that Felix has no clue that we just changed his whole password. And so he's going to go back to work doing a little bit of a run around over to the IT team, trying to get his password stuff sorted out. But until then, let's go ahead and see what we have access to with Felix. So let's go ahead and sign into Felix here. Let's get right into Felix over here and put our strong new password. Try to save that strong new password. We need to update the password. And by the way, if you just tried to authenticate right into the terminal, you won't be given this option. You'll just be given an error. That's why you got to use the portal in order to update your password after entering the newly assigned password. But don't ask me why it works like that. I am just here to show you the lab. So the new password that we're going to use is cop 123 cop 123. And the reason why I use cop is that nobody else uses cop. And there's a significance to that. If you use any password that other people use regularly, Azure is not okay with that. All right, so we are here. Microsoft Sentinel is a great service. I believe that it's much better than what solutions AWS has to offer, because on Microsoft Sentinel, you can do what on AWS requires like 3 different services. And so that's fun. However, AWS is dominating, so maybe it's not so fun. As you can see here, we have access to a key. So, you could do this enumeration on the terminal, and I'll show you. Actually, let me show you here. Let me go ahead and get in here with the terminal just to kind of give you a little look-sees if you want to learn the terminal about it. So we get in through AZ login, specifying cop, specifying our Felix, and we are now in. And so with that being said, you just put in some standard kind of vault key enumerating commands. As you can see here, I use the vault keys resource and its organizational group, which is the standard required 2 flags in order to enumerate a resource. And since we're using AZ login, it's going to be able to retrieve things utilizing the refresh token. That's the system of AZ login. And then you can do it that way. But if you wanted to do it with the portal, you just click on the resource. As you can see here in this vault, we got the objects down here. The objects can be keys. Let's go ahead and look at the keys. We can have certificates, and we can also have secrets. Now we got this secret called algo GitHub deploy key. So if we press that, we can see that right here, it says we got this older version. And so in this older version, we do not have the PEM file. And so at this point of the engagement, I am very sorry to break it to you, but the lab is broken. This lab is severely broken. However, I'm going to show you how it will work once it's fixed so you can completely learn and get the lab done. So over here, instead of this, you will find the actual key. And within that key, there will be the string. And the string is an RSA. Now, this RSA having the name of algo GitHub deploy key, we could probably gather that this is used for GitHub. And so once we gather that much, let's go ahead and SSH into GitHub using this. And let's bring up back our Kali. Let's go back into the directory. And let's add this. SSH add. And let's go ahead and clone this private repository. Let's go ahead and go inside of it. And from here we see, ooh, we got a bunch of stuff. We even have in here, we have science. Now, I don't know about you, but if you're on an engagement and you find science, that's quite a big finding. But thank you very much for watching this video. The flag is right there. All you got to do is cat it at this point, and you are completed the lab. So I hope you enjoyed. Please leave a like and subscribe and follow me on Twitch and ask me anything. Thank you very much. See you later.